to 6460, where I tell you 6 things I love about Star Trek in honor of the 60th anniversary of their franchise. This is episode 14, and I know it's been a minute, but I would like to talk a little bit about Starfleet Academy. So I had planned this show. Um, I wanted to wait to really talk about it until the end of the first season, and then we find out it's been canceled. So after season 2, which they have completed filming already, there will not be any more Starfleet Academy. So I can say, well, I could say anything I wanted to about it before, but I have a little more freedom now. So my first thing that I have on my list of 6 is that it fulfilled the wish of fans. So I think people, if you are involved with any kind of fan forums or talk to folks, people have been wishing for a Starfleet Academy show for a lot of years, like for decades. They've been talking about, wouldn't it be wonderful to see how we train officers for Starfleet and all that goes into it. And we've seen, Wesley from TNG go to the Academy, and Bixby. There's a reference, I believe, to Starfleet Academy in almost every iteration of Star Trek except for Enterprise. So it was something that the fans really wanted. And I felt like Starfleet Academy really delivered. Um, let's talk about it brought back fans like Tilly and now her name is just Jet Reno. I forgot her character's name real quick, but just wonderful actresses that we got to see again. And let's talk about the DS9 follow-up episode. Mwah, it was perfect. It was 100 out of 10. Absolutely loved everything about it. We also got to see Tawny Newsome. So it was just absolutely wonderful in that it fulfilled, I think, a lot of fan wishes. The second thing I loved about Star Trek Starfleet Academy was rebuilding. We are still recovering from the burn in that, in this particular timeline is setting. And I think there were a lot of untold stories from the burn. And I think Starfleet Academy was really going to give us the opportunity to explore what happened during the burn, how cultures and civilizations changed to adapt, and what the Federation was doing to recover from this. And we saw a little bit of it. I mean, it was kind of not the premise, but it was the foundation really for Starfleet Academy season 1, because we saw the initial, hey, bad things are going on. We're trying to help the best we can. We can only be so lenient with folks because we're trying to reestablish some type of order. And then we saw how that backfired and kind of bit us in the behind for all of season 1. And we see this also through the establishment of the War College. Just from talk, it seemed as if this was something new and a focus to address the issues that the Federation was having in this post-burn society. So I really wanted to explore more of that and more of the War College. I hope it happens in season 2, but now we'll never know. The third thing on my list is that it was a combination of stationary setting, like DS9 being on a space station, and also the mobility of being on a spaceship. So we know DS9 got so much hate when it first came out because people were upset that they were not on a spaceship 24/7. So I thought this was an awesome opportunity to do some unique storylines, because you have the vulnerability of being stationary in San Francisco, possibly Beta Z when they move, but also the flexibility of being on a starship. So I just thought that was very creative, and I really like that aspect of the show, and I was enjoying how they were using that flexibility there. So the fourth thing on my list is the cast of students. I am not alone in saying that Sam was my absolute favorite. Wonderful, wonderful actress. I love the writing for her. Everything about that Kate character was wonderful to me. I loved how they were allowing us to explore the photonic life form. And when the doctor became her father, oh my goodness, tears. That was so much more I wanted to see out of that relationship, and to delve more into the photonic society. I was hoping that maybe at some point they would get to meet, or expand with the photonics from the Delta Quadrant. um I wanted more. I wanted more. I hope we get more in season two. But I was really looking forward to many, many more seasons of Sam. So very sad that we're not going to get that. Number 5 on my list is the cast of Instructor. Love Jet. Love Tawny Newsome as the instructor. I thought they were just insightful. And even though it's in the midst of a crisis, they're still taking the opportunity to make them learning moments. I really feel like Jet is just an amazing actress. I love the way they have written her character and the way she carries herself. She just kind of reminds me, if Kirk and Spock actually had a baby. So we've got fun, loving, really smart, charismatic, but logical and thoughtful and still a little playful. Just she's my favorite instructor. And then of course, Sheena, no, Gina Yashir. When I first heard that she was going to be on the show, and I said this earlier in I think a follow-up Friday when somebody had asked about Starfleet Academy, I was not happy because I was like, what in the world are they doing with a comedian on this show? It's going to be a hot mess. Surprise, surprise. She is absolutely wonderful. She is wonderful. Because I'd only seen her do stand-up or be a comedic role in Bob Love's Abishola. So I really was not expecting her to be as great as she is as the master of the cadets. But yeah, I'm saying we're not going to get more of her. And I wanted the background story. How do we get a Jim Hadar Klingon hybrid? Because, from DS9, the Jim Hadar were single sex clones or genetically grown in pods. So I wanted the backstory on that. I was waiting. I was just imagining all sorts of crazy creative things, just wildness happening. And I'm so sad that we're not going to get that story unless it's in season 2. But anyway, okay. And the 6th thing on my list of 6 for 60 is that I love the show had things that I did not enjoy, that I absolutely could not stand. Why? Sounds a little bit crazy, because I'm sure somebody else did love it. And that's the wonderful thing about Star Trek, and thought for most fans, that we understood its infinite diversity in infinite combinations. Infinite combination. Okay, you know what I mean. You know what I mean. We just can't be so rigid that we can't just take the little dash of bad with the good. And I think overall Starfleet Academy was 95% good. So, but anyway, here are the few little things that just weren't for me, but I know other people probably loved. So I was not a fan of Braca. Not a fan of the character. I hated the way they wrote him. I hated the way he was portrayed by the actor, and I know he's a good actor, so I don't know what was going on. I hated the tic-tac-toe board cut into his head. Origami chicken. I hated everything about his character. He was so completely over the top. I don't know if they were going for some Harry Mudd theatrics or, the very big, bold kind of theatrical presence of Khan. I don't know what the goal was, but hated everything about him. And I'm glad I read somewhere that he wasn't in season 2. So thrilled, absolutely thrilled. Don't need to see him again. And I do wish the actor well in his future endeavors. I know he'll be wonderful again in something else. Second of the things I really didn't care for is that I wish Mir had kept his clothes on. I've got a 20 something son who loves going to the gym and he enjoys his shirtless pics, and that's cool for some people. But it just kind of gave me the ick, especially when I would read the comments on some of these fan sites about women just ogling this young man. Ick! I've got a baby that age. So that just gave me a little personal ick, and I wish he had kept his clothes on some more. So not the quite the last, but also that it was a little bit too much teen angst. I was expecting some because it's a bunch of kids in school, young people, but it was a little bit too much for me a lot of the time. But that's okay. And I wanted, the last thing is I wanted more discussion of how the Federation was coming to balance between safety of the Federation and the planets and the members and defense and being able to manage this new situation post burn, where very clearly there are still people who are not fans of the Federation and the power balance has changed drastically. So we saw some of that with the introduction, of the War College. Pardon me. But I wished that we had the opportunity to develop and see more of the conflicts. So it is what it is. So in closing, I think it is a shame that the show was canceled. I hope possibly that it will come back for more seasons. It is possible. Like, at one point they had canceled Stargate. They killed off Anubis, wrapped everything up in a tight little bow, and then, the powers that be came back and said, guess what? You're back. And so then, writer machinations and magic, and they went on for many, many, many more seasons. So I think we as fans have power. So in the comments, I've included a link to the petition to save Starfleet Academy. So if you are so inclined, I would ask you to sign and share with your friends. I think Starfleet Academy is an amazing show that could really do wonderful things for the franchise and could go on for many, many more seasons if we all work together and try and make it happen. But if it doesn't, I'm just going to cherish the 2 seasons that we have right now. So live long and prosper, my friends, and I hope that we get a stable foundation for Star Trek, the franchise, to move on so that our children and grandchildren and great-great-grandchildren will continue to be inspired by it and move forward to help us have a beautiful future.